Hello, good evening. The name is Kobe Spiking Chroma. You're listening to Joy 99.7 FM. Time is 7:07 p.m., so that means you're listening to Geek Squad. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about drones, vis-a-vis the whole medical delivery drones. And we want to educate you all on what drones are, what they do, what others use them for, and why medical deliveries, and if it's a good idea or a bad idea. So with me in the studio, I have Klenam Uba Fiajo, aka at F Koku. He's a tech. Klenam, introduce yourself.
Oh, all right. My name is Klenam. Well, I'm a tech enthusiast. I like to talk about technology. I run a startup also in technology, so I'm here to talk about drones. Yeah.
And we have a regular, Winston, the photographer.
Yeah, just that.
And then we have Ofulikwe Adams from eConsult.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm also an IT expert. And
Right.
I'm passionate about anything to do with IT.
Everything to do with IT.
Yeah.
I know, right? That's why we're all here. That's what the Geek Squad is about. Anyone that's passionate about technology and anything to do with technology, you're a geek. And you're part of the squad, whether you like it or not. So, let's get the ball rolling. First off, what are drones? Winston, you are a drone pilot. You've been doing some drone mapping and flying drones recreationally and professionally.
Yeah. I feel like we shouldn't be saying this on air, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, because... Okay, so tell us, what are drones?
Drones are UAVs, which is unmanned aerial vehicles, and they are basically... They come in different forms. You can have drones for photography. You can have drones for mapping. You can have drones for almost anything, for surveillance and everything. But they are basically devices that one can control and go to a certain height and can see things from an aerial perspective. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There are different forms, there are different types. But
can you give us some of the types of drones that we have?
Would I consider this a type? But we have the normal commercial drones that we see all around. Even those come in different forms. There's the octocopters. There are ones that have 8 rotors. Then they have some with 4 rotors. And they honestly, drones are very, very, very widespread. Very, very diverse. And they even have some that go underwater, interesting enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very diverse. It's not something that I can just exhaust. And the more interesting ones are the fixed wing ones, and those are more different. Those last longer during flight periods, and those are normally used for surveillance, for sensory stuff, and a lot more. But drones are very diverse. So.
Okay, so you mentioned longer, as in the duration.
Yes.
What, they run on some kind of power?
Yeah.
Which is?
Lithium-ion batteries.
So that you have to charge them.
You have to recharge
So how
them.
much longer would a drone, say, the most powerful drone, stay in the air?
Okay, so if we're talking about most powerful, I would give it... So there's this particular flight wing from the US, and it's... the record it has given, it's about 54 hours.
Right.
So that's a very, very long time.
And it's not what the security agencies use?
Yeah, so it's actually... But I think you can buy it commercially. I've forgotten the name of the company, but...
Like those big ones that you watch in the movies, they used to attack the terrorists.
What is those to be terrorists? Those are also drones. Yeah, those are also drones, and those are far more powerful. But I'm just talking about the commercial side. Definitely, the government will not be selling us those drones.
Kind of drones.
Yeah. So, but it's done 54 hours, and they are aiming to get to 60 hours. So it's pretty long. But average commercial flight times is about 35 minutes. Average for the average drone it's
about 35 minutes.
Yes,
right.
Which is not long.
Yeah, I mean, considering.
Yeah.
Klenam, you're a tech enthusiast. Drones. What do you know? What fascinates you about drones?
The unmanned part of the drone. So now, I mean, and drones are not a new thing. I mean, in the 17s, Winston Churchill, those days, there were drones. But it's just that now it's consumer friendly. So even me in my house, I can easily go buy a drone, use it for photography, so far as I have the license, of course, from the civil aviation. So it's brought it closer to the regular user. So it's not now just the Army or maybe the Air Force using it for, Patriot drones and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's now closer. So that's what makes it fascinating for me now.
Right.
For photography, now blood and other stuff. So, yeah.
Wait, but you mentioned something. Once you have a license, you need a license to pilot a drone?
Yes. I think that came about 2 years ago.
Yes.
The Civil Aviation Authority said if you want to fly a drone or, move a drone into the air, you have to have the license at some point.
But why would you need a license to fly a drone? I mean, if I have my selfie drone, I can just throw in the sky and it'll take a picture of me. Why would I need...
You see, it's a privacy thing again. Because immediately you go into the sky, whatever you're shooting or whatever you're photographing is somebody's privacy. Where your freedom ends is where somebody's privacy begins. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say. So I think the licensing is a key thing in all of this. So I think the GCAA did a good job with that. Yeah.
Ofolikwe,
Yeah.
do you have a drone?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So that means you have a drone license?
Yeah. No, I don't have a drone license. I don't use it
You
for
don't-
commercial stuff. You know.
Well, about that.
Yeah.
About that.
No, I have to be upfront about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Maybe somebody from GCA is watching this listening and then
They'll come to you like,
yeah.
where's your license?
Where's your license? You know.
But, so, Winston, you were saying that you need a license, be it recreational or commercial?
Yeah, so there
Why?
are two grades of the license with civil aviation. There's the recreational one, and then there's the commercial one. And the recreational one you can get in a day.
Right.
It's a very short process you can get in a day, and it does give you certain restrictions and everything. You find out when you get there. It's a very long list of rules. These for flying the
don't
drone.
do's.
Very very long list.
What's the weirdest one on that list?
Weirdest rule. I don't know. I think flying over a crowd of people. Yes, to me that's the weirdest rule because
Practically, that's what people
that's
would
what people
use.
use
a drone
drones for. Yeah, that's one of the.
But then
weirdest.
that's understandable. If the drone loses control and comes
you fall-
crashing down,
Yeah.
it
So
might
on
take
that
some
level, I
time.
understand the civil aviation because what they tell you when you go there is that they've created the rules,
Yeah.
and if you follow them and anything happens, you have their backing.
Right.
But if you flout them and something happens, they are sorry,
yeah,
but
you're on your own.
you're in trouble.
So, Ofoliko, you got your drone because you're fascinated by it. You're an IT expert. You're an IT enthusiast too.
yeah.
So that's why you got it.
Yeah.
Right. So, primarily, what was the primary reason for you getting your drone?
Yeah, so I got my drone because I wanted to be able to try out some things. You know, like I want to be able to know how Google Map works.
Right.
Okay, so then as an IT enthusiast, what is it about GPS that makes you be able to place a request by Uber, and then within some minutes the driver comes without you having to direct and say, oh, pass by the Coco seller or stuff like that, you know. So those were the passion, like that was what was the driving force behind trying to get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your passion, just wanting to know how GPS drove you to get
Exactly.
one, and have you been able to? Has it served its purpose?
Yeah. So actually, for me, you know, with what's like the government is trying to do, I see it as an industry being created.
Right.
You understand? You know, if you go online and you are reading, you realize that, I mean, that is where the world is driving towards.
Yeah.
You understand? If you look at the cost of constructing a road per kilometer, which is 1.2, on the average is 1.2 million, okay? And then you look at this drone coming in, and with the drones, you don't need roads in the rural areas. You know, when I hear people talking, I just realize that they don't travel. You understand? I went to a place in the north, okay? There were no network. There was virtually nothing. It was the middle of nowhere. But it's in Ghana. They don't have electricity. They don't even have MTN working there. You get it? And when you have a facility like this that can work and it can provide services, I see it as an opportunity. So instead of condemning the government and say, well, the government is chopping money or this person is chopping money, how do I take advantage as an IT person?
Oh,
You
okay.
understand? Drones can help with agriculture.
Mm.
It can help with agriculture, with spraying and all those things. So how do I take advantage
Of drones.
of drones and make sure that I build something from it?
So on that note,
Yeah.
what are some of the use cases of drones besides just us using them for commercial purposes, like say people taking photographs and stuff, and recreational purposes, someone just deciding that hey, it's fun to fly. What are some of the use cases, Clenam?
Rwanda is a classic case for now because they are already delivering blood with drones. I know that.
I see that's become like the primary use so far. Everyone thinks about drone now, and it has to do with delivery.
Not necessarily. I mean, because it solved a very basic problem. So, I mean, that is the first reference point now. I know that in Ghana, some guys are also doing irrigation with drones in Ghana now. I know that in some countries, they are even using drones for crowd control. That's the police.
Wow.
I know that in some countries, I mean, the use cases are enormous, and as the gentleman said, it's good that we find out how we can use drones to solve the challenges that we face as a people in Africa. And my point is that we need to move towards, I mean, the government looking at drones in a very larger spectrum. Okay. So it's not it's not just okay. I mean, let's deliver bloods. Yeah. And I mean, let's do this. Let's look at it in a larger purview. Yeah. Consider every other option. Even during elections, if there are issues anywhere, I mean, where people cannot necessarily go to. Yeah. A drone can easily fly and go and watch. Okay, what's going on here? There. I've ever written a blog post and saying that we need more drones than even roads in Ghana here because it makes a lot of. As he said, there are places where farmers are encountering a lot of post-harvest losses. Yeah. So if you can get a heavy drone to pick up maybe maize from one point to a market, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So the use cases are very, very enormous. So as much as possible, we need to look at the possibilities.
That is awesome. I mean, looking at that now, I'm getting ideas like. If these drones can solve all these problems, why are we still narrowing ourselves to just one solution for other problems that we have? Now, the focus is medical, use and healthcare. Yeah. But before we get to that, I'm coming back to you, Winston, because you're a droner. Basically, if this were to become a thing, and I put that in quotes, people using drones for everything, like solving problems like Clenam said, a farmer using a heavy drone to lift his produce to the market and all that. What are some of the risks and what are some of the benefits?
Well, first off is cost. Like you said, it saves cost. It does save cost, but the initial cost of getting a drone is also something you need to consider. Purchasing a drone, teaching people how to fly and everything, and then following the rules, because the rules are very extensive. But like, for instance, another interesting rule is that you can't fly within 10 kilometers of an airport. Very important.
Very, very
rule.
important.
Very, very
important.
important.
That goes without saying.
It goes without saying. But when you talk about opportunities, I mean, if you can get a drone to carry farm produce, there are many constraints with a drone, which like I mentioned, is flight time. Because if you're going to fly out the drone, pick up the produce and fly it back, if you are doing about 35 minutes, how far is the distance? And then you need to understand that the drone has a remote control. Some drones have remote control. Majority of the commercial ones do. And they have a range. The maximum range, I think, is about 30 miles for most commercial. So if your point of deployment is, and then your point of pickup is longer than 30 miles, and it's going to take the drone more than 20 minutes to get there, then it's not feasible. It doesn't make sense because the drone can't make the trip back, and it will just fall out of the sky. That's how they work.
And someone gets free farm produce.
And
but what if the drone is supposed to make just a one-way delivery?
One-way trip.
If it's
so
a one
off from here and
go to Kumasi, and then another one, it gets recharged there.
It gets recharged
you are talking about limits, but what I want us to look at is the opportunities. Do you understand? Until Tesla came, nobody knew that EVs could be a thing.
I see, that's the problem. Because EVs could be a thing in America because then they have power.
Yes.
No, but we have solar. Now EVs chargers are coming that can charge 30 minutes and you can go for like 200 miles.
That's if you're using.
So easy. Let's not look at the limits.
No, we're not talking about.
You know where I was coming there. I remembered an article I read. The first spaceship that went to the sky
calculating
power calculating power is equivalent to the least mobile phones you can talk about now. You understand? So now, if you have a mobile phone, you technically have
The power to fly.
a power to fly. You understand? So if we want to talk about limits, it's more or less like we are talking about excuses. You understand? No, you see, we need to be able to come up, like just like the way the American president at that time said that America will go to to space or will go to the moon. You understand? I mean, for me, I'm excited about this because this is an industry that is not there. We are all complaining about jobs and all those things.
And this is an opportunity.
Exactly.
To all this.
Now,
on that exciting note,
Yeah.
I think we have Daniel Marfo from Zipline.
Yeah.
They're the company responsible for
Interesting.
these these drones that make these deliveries and all that. So we're going to talk. So he's going to tell us a lot about Zipline and then what they do with their drones, since that is an opportunity for using drones. So, hi, Daniel.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Spiky.
Yes, so it's great to hear from you. Now, Zipline, you guys are doing something revolutionary in Rwanda with your blood deliveries and medical supplies.
Yes.
So this is coming to Ghana. And basically, we want you to educate us on how Zipline works.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So, first of all, Spiky, thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
So, basically, Zipline. So, let me just tell you a bit about Zipline, and then it would lead into how we operate.
Right.
So, Zipline is an aerial logistics company, and we believe that ground logistics has been covered a lot, but when it comes to pushing the boundaries of aerial logistics in being able to support with emergency delivery of medical services, there's still a lot that needs to be done in that space. And it's one of the places that a lot of innovation is coming in there, and people are looking to crack it. So Zipline actually is the first nationally available commercial medical drone delivery service. I'm trying to classify it because a lot of companies are still trying to perfect their technology, but Zipline is leading that space.
Right.
We're being able to commercially make it available. So a lot of people are trying, doing tests, pilots, but we've been able to advance from that stage rapidly into the space of actually making it commercially available.
Right.
So with regards to the technology itself, our drones are what you call medical drones.
Okay.
And medical drones look quite different from how the normal drones that are used for taking videos and pictures look. For a start, medical drones do not carry any kind of cameras.
Okay.
They look more or less like a miniature airplane. So if you have seen some pictures of our drones, you see that it looks like a mini airplane or projectile, and it has an empty shell in between, kind of like the big airplanes where you load the cargo. So we have that kind of similar thing, but in a miniature space, so that you can fit in the medical supplies, and then you'd be able to deliver the product to the facilities that require them. When it comes to the actual, so let me walk you through how, if someone needed our service, they would access it, okay? So we train healthcare facilities across the country on how to place an order to Zipline, and they will do that by either calling us on the phone, sending an SMS, sending a WhatsApp, or if they are more technologically savvy, they can log on to an online portal and then place their request for the items that they need. Once they place the request, we have people that we call fulfillment operators. So they man our distribution center, whereby they will see all the orders coming in, and then based on the order that comes in, within a space of about 3 minutes, we get back to the facility whether we can fulfill the order, that is, we have the items in stock, and then we serve them with it or not. Once we have it in stock, then in another maybe 2 minutes, it's put into some kind of a cardboard packaging, which has a patented air filling system to make sure that the products we put in it do not break or crack during flight. And then we give this product to a drone operator or a flight operator, who then packs it into our drone, and then we have what you call a launcher. So we launch the drones, and we launch the drones at about a speed of about 200-300 kilometers per hour. But once it gets into flight, it will fly at about 120-150 kilometers per hour, and then it gets all the way to the facility. Now, people think our drones actually will land, at a place, but it doesn't. What happens is the drones descend to a very safe height, maybe 10-5 meters, and then it deploys the package in a parachute.
Okay.
And then the package lands safely at a spot that has already been selected by the healthcare professionals. By doing so, it guarantees a very quick turnaround and makes sure that the drone returns to the base in time.
Okay, so once the drone takes off, it comes home?
Yes, so our drones are autonomous. There's no human intervention. Nobody's actually piloting it. So that is the beauty of our technology. How do we do this? Someone might ask. So, in fact, there's a lot of groundwork that goes on before we even fly a drone to a specific place. We do total GPS mapping of the entire area. So, assuming that we were delivering to your Joy FM studios, okay, what would happen is maybe 3 months before then, we'd have had to do our own aerial survey, take GPS coordinates of every spot of, Joy FM area, not just the studio, but in and around it.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we'll look for tall buildings or buildings of height, just to make sure that when the drone is flying or descending, it doesn't run into any obstacles.
Okay.
So based on that, we will map out the flight route in consultation with Ghana Civil Aviation Authority on where the drone should fly. So once we map out the route and we know the exact GPS coordinates, we would have told Joy FM that, okay, when we are making drone deliveries to your facility, where should we deliver them? And then Joy FM would say, deliver it in the car park in front of our studio at this very spot. And then we take the GPS coordinates of that spot. And then anytime the drone is delivering, it would make the delivery at that very same spot. So before when the drone is about arriving, about 5 minutes, the person who placed the order would have gotten an SMS and a WhatsApp telling you that the drone is about to arrive.
Okay.
And then about 2 minutes before arrival, we place a phone call to you telling you that the drone is arriving at the designated spot you chose. And then the person just waits, and then the delivery comes, and then they pick it up, and then they go. So assuming you pick it up, and let's say in the very worst scenario, it was a wrong order. All you need to do is you just call Zipline, and we would send a replacement order to you almost instantly.
Okay. So what happens when, let's say, it's an error? Because you said people can request for supplies either through SMS, WhatsApp, or an online portal.
Yes.
And one of my panelists in the studio was mentioning that he went to some place in the north where there was absolutely no network. What in such cases, what would be the solution?
Yeah, so is it, let me just understand, so is there no network in terms of the people reaching out to Zipline or the drone flying there?
No, they can't make calls or even send SMSs. So how would they reach Zipline?
Yes, so we deliver to healthcare facilities, first and foremost. So we are not delivering, let's say, directly to people's homes, it's to only healthcare facilities. So with all the healthcare facilities in question, so far, our first distribution center would cover the whole of Eastern region, some parts of Ashanti, Greater Accra, Volta, and then Central. All those places, we've taken coordinates, and we've been there to see that there is some sort of signal.
Right.
So a lot of work has been done over the last 7-8 months, and we've actually had a lot of discussions to determine. So at least one of those 4 would be working at that place.
Okay.
For the facilities we are delivering to for a start.
Okay, so for your mapping purpose, did you have sort of work with the Ghana Post GPS? So people could use their digital addresses to request. I mean, not people, the medical places.
The facilities.
The facilities, yes.
Yes. we didn't work with Ghana Post GPS because, like I said, we need to take our own coordinates because we need to be very, very accurate. You know, I'm not saying that that is not accurate, but for our purposes, we first of all, so what we did is we got some Ghana Post GPS data, we got some GPS coordinates. That was like our first screening, okay, to just see if actually it leads us to these kind of places. Then once we have it, we're actually working with a Ghanaian third-party vendor. I'm sure you know of Aeroshatter.
Yes.
So we're working with Aeroshatter to actually do these ground surveys. So we are working with them, so they're a third party, and then our survey team works with them to make sure we take every coordinate, take every picture of that place to be sure. So we have some preliminary data, but then we go on to get extra data because the drones must be as accurate as possible. We cannot
Right.
use any margin for error during delivery.
Makes 100% sense. So these drones, what are their range? Like how much distance can they cover per flight?
Okay, so if the drones were flying, for the purposes of just flying, these drones, so let me just explain. The drones have a battery component, and these battery components will be built right here in Ghana by battery technicians that we are training currently in Rwanda, because in Rwanda, our team builds the batteries themselves as well. So it's a lot of knowledge transfer. So the drones with the battery could travel as far as 200 kilometers if they were just to go in a straight line.
Right.
But because we are doing an emergency delivery service, take it that in an emergency case, you shouldn't, if you go beyond an hour getting a product to someone, then it's really, if it was an emergency, the person could have lost their.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we do not spend more than 60 minutes from the time an order is placed to when we can get a delivery. And that is what is our primary determinant in how far we should fly and return. So because of that, we determined that the drone should fly as much as 85 kilometers in one direction and be able to turn around because in about 45 minutes, it could have done 85 kilometers. And you know, I told you the people placed the order. So we factor in that you placed the order, we checked, we packed it and everything. So our time from when you call us to the time we deliver to you should not be more than 60 minutes. But the drone itself flying should not take more than 40, 45 minutes to get to your point. And that is what is our limiting factor. So the faster our drones become, the wider our range would be because we don't want to go above 60 minutes.
Great.
That is what is our limiting factor here. When we started, the drones were doing around 90-100, but now they can do as fast as 150. And our next generation drones will be faster than that. So with each generation, we know that in a couple of years, we could probably be doing 150 kilometers straight back round in 60 minutes.
That's brilliant. So in all this, I'm sure you encountered some challenges whilst you were planning this, doing your reconnaissance and everything.
Yes.
One of these challenges that we assumed you could have was bad weather.
Yes.
So what's your solution for bad weather?
Okay, so with all aerial projectiles, including airplanes, beyond a certain weather, it's unsafe to fly. Even the big airplanes will not fly in a certain weather condition.
Right.
So what we did is that our drones, however, can fly in some bad weather. So if it's raining with heavy crosswinds, unless the crosswinds exceed about 70-80 kilometers per hour, that is when our drones determine it as unsafe to fly because our drones are actually very light. It's made out of styrofoam body. That's one of the safety features so that in case there's an impact, it doesn't hurt someone, you know. So we try to make it as light as possible. But one of the disadvantages of making something as light as possible is when there's heavy crosswinds, about 70-80 kilometers per hour, it can move it from the flight path that we have determined. You remember I told you we plan an air route. Yeah. So once the drone detects that it has moved off the flight path by a certain degree, it would it has a safety feature that forces it to return back to base because at that point it is not sure where it is going. It's like it's missed the road.
Right.
So unless the crosswinds are above 70-80 kilometers per hour, it would still continue its journey. And that's and just to put it in perspective, 70-80 kilometers crosswinds is kind of like a severe thunderstorm level. that is when, we would determine that the drone may determine that it's unsafe to fly. Then it would return.
Great. So another question, what's the maximum weight your drones can carry? Because from what you described, they seem like they're very light.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the maximum weight they can carry?
So currently the drones carry about 1.8 kilograms, 1.75 kilograms of products at a time.
What kind of product?
Yes.
What kind of products?
So it carries anything from blood products through to medical products. So, I mean, basically, as long as it fits within the body, we can carry it.
And within the weight?
Yes, within the body and within the weight.
Right.
Because it's just like a normal airplane. It shouldn't carry it beyond a certain weight, So, but the interesting thing is when we started, the first generation drones were carrying about 1.4. We've increased it to 1.75. And as you know, technology improves over time. You get a better understanding, you improve how you do things, and our next generation drones will carry far more weight than this.
Great. Okay, so now we have a question from one of our listeners who says, "Good evening, guys. My name is Seneca Wule from Spintex. Can these drones be targeted by the wrong people like terrorists, though we don't have those group of people in Ghana yet?"
Yes. That's a good question. So a couple of things. So our drones it's software. I don't want to say it can never, it's software.
Yeah.
But the thing we have to bear in mind is that the drones, once they set off to fly, they already know where they are going. It's programmed into the drone itself, and unless the person maybe hacked the software that is running and decided to change the path, it will be very hard. Secondly, if the drone is not on a path that is already predefined and mapped out, it will not fly there at all. You remember I was telling you that even in heavy crosswinds, if it detects it's no longer on an agreed path, it would abort the flight and return. And assuming somebody even decided to use it to target whatever reason, the moment the drone detects that it's maybe losing ground or moving in a certain direction that it shouldn't, it will deploy a safety parachute.
Right.
And then land. So we've put in a lot of safety features to make it as safe to the environment and to nearby people. Plus, it's a very light drone. Like I said, it has a lot of styrofoam body, so it would be very hard for it to actually make a lot of damage to anything.
It's been very great talking to you, Mr. Daniel Marfo, and thanks a lot for the education.
All right.
Yeah, so we will give you a call again once on our show when we want to talk about drones again.
Sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I would extend, once we start operations, we would extend a hand to you and your team to actually come visit the facility, see it work for yourselves, so that when you tell people, it sounds fanciful, like this is kind of like next stage dreamy things, know, but it's working and it's saving a lot of lives. The technology is very simple, but it's taken people a long time to perfect it to this point. So
hence the education.
We would extend an invitation to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Daniel. We will honor that invitation when you do extend that invitation. I'm sure Winston and Michael would be very glad. They're drone addicts.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Back to the studio. So, guys, that was Mr. Daniel Marfo from Zipline, educating us on how their technology works. It sounds relatively simple, like he said himself. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Sorry I'm late. My car is as wide as Parliament Building, so it took a while to park.
Thank you for that extensive explanation. Okay, so if you're listening to us, the numbers to call 0302-216-541. And if you want to send us a WhatsApp, is 0244340437. I repeat, 0302-216-541 to call. And if you want to send a WhatsApp, 0244340437. So, yeah, listening to Daniel, a few things come to mind. If this takes off and it does work well, which I do hope it does, because I love technology and everything technology, I hope it works, so it makes all the naysayers go like, then we can educate our technical universities and everything can start building drones in Ghana.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still, enthused about what Clenham said when it came to the agricultural part of the drones delivering. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you see trucks carrying foodstuffs and then they are stuck in some remote area because the roads are bad.
Yeah.
Clenham, from listening to Daniel, what do you have to say?
So, I mean, I'm sure this will be an interesting sideway talk. But, I mean, when the whole thing came up, I was one of the few people who was not against it, but, was asking for a lot of questions to be asked. Could we have gotten it cheaper? $12 million. Could we have gotten it cheaper? I mean, could a local company have done it? All of those kind of questions. But, I mean...
Hold that thought. Hello, John from Medina.
Yeah, hello, Spiky. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good. As usual.
Yes.
I'm going to, again, blame you guys or Ghanaian technocrats for not, implementing this service themselves. But the blame is just partly.
Yes.
The main blame will go to the government, because even the Ghana Post GPS, which is supposed to be used, because we were told by Bahumia that it was unique in the world, never built anywhere in the world. I'm surprised that the coordinates could not be right and they couldn't find that useful. But again, we stand to lose a lot if we take politics out. I think that when you go to even the universities, what they study computer science, you can get programmers who can build these drones. They are nothing to build. My next point has to do with the regulations governing these drones. And mind you, Zipline is an American company, so they shouldn't take our data protection laws for granted. Now, even in Ghana, the drone laws are not being adhered to, and I don't know why. One of the laws by the GCA, that's Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, says drones may not be operated in congested areas of cities, towns, or settlements. Additionally, drones may not be flown over clouds. But what do we see? Everywhere, even National Theatre, everywhere that you go today, photographers are using drones, flying them over crowds. So if these drones fall on somebody, what happens? And what mechanism is the GCA putting in place to ensure that people who flout these laws are brought to book?
Yeah.
Because everybody now is flying drones. And one of the laws also says, do not fly drones higher than 400 feet vertically. But what do we see? People fly drones to...
Hello? Hello, John? Oh, we lost John right there. So John had some... We've got another call on the line. Hello, Leo.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
I must say that I was listening to the comments and listening to the whole program, and I must say I'm really, really sad and disappointed because I really see that this whole project is just a draft for them. This is not the time for drones in Ghana. I keep asking myself, so if the drone is being controlled in Accra, would they fly a drone to Nankbandori or somewhere in the remote areas? How is it going to work? What is the exact plan for it? Or is it going to be another project that we are going to execute and halfway along the line, we will not know how it's going to be financed, we will not know the full blueprint. What exactly are we doing in terms of execution of this project? Are we really ready for drones now? Is this something they have really sat down to look at thoroughly, to examine all the areas before executing this? Or is it something that they just dreamt of and they want to execute, and halfway along the line, when they wake up, then reality hits them? I don't think Ghana is ready for drones. Thank you.
Okay, so Leo doesn't think Ghana is ready for drones.
Let me try and address some of the issues.
Sure.
The first thing they're talking about is cost.
Yeah.
Technology is not cheap, but technology can be scaled. I said earlier on that when you look at the cost of road, that's why I checked it before coming here. 1 kilometer of road construction in Ghana is equivalent to $1.2 million. So if we are complaining that this is expensive, that's like saying that for the 12, you are constructing 12 kilometers of road. Okay, it doesn't, you can't quantify the kind of problems. And I was talking to you earlier on that I know somebody personally that I can let you verify Just
Right.
about 2 weeks ago, he had to pay for somebody to be moved from Boga to Takoradi because they needed specialized care for somebody who had a problem with stroke. You understand? And the ambulance guy said that the car was not working, so they have to now go and rent a private ambulance, and they ended up paying 3,000. So what if the person didn't have that money? You understand?
The person will just lose their life.
Exactly. The drones can be deployed everywhere and anywhere. You understand?
Yeah.
And the issue of you saying that, okay, why didn't the government give it to any local company? What if there was no local company? But what if we are going to say, okay, this technology, we don't have it, but then we are going to make sure that we are going to build capacity. So instead of complaining about the thing being given to an outside company, we are going to say that, okay, what is our technical universities doing? Are they going to develop the systems? We have the capacity to do that, but that's not for us to be complaining. You know, people are dying by the day, and the way we keep on politicizing something that has to do with health is very dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't see why we should be.
Clenna, you were saying that you weren't in support in the beginning, so I want to see what changed your mind.
I mean, I'm trying very hard not to even talk, you know, and not sound political. You know,
yeah, because
I mean,
and
one of the callers said that, I mean, he blames a lot of the technocrats, and this is the problem we have in Ghana. I mean, people purchase, I mean, for instance, technology and not even consult technocrats who are in that space. And I said I wasn't too enthused about it in the beginning because there are a lot of local companies that can do this. I mean, one caller also said, why haven't they done it over the period? Well, we didn't have a vice president who was interested in it. I mean, that can be number one.
Exactly.
You understand my point. So, I mean, it could have come at a cheaper cost, I think. And of course, technology is not, I mean, doesn't stay on its own. Technology layers over what is on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, so if the systems on the ground is not solid enough, technology will build over it. I mean, we've built a lot of CHIPS compounds. How many of them are working? I mean, when the blood goes, are there doctors there to even perform these surgeries that they're talking about? A lot of things on the ground must work. Technology will layer over that. You know, so those were my concerns in the beginning. But I mean, of course, technology can be deployed and then we'll fix the problems as we go on.
Yeah.
That one can be done. So I think that as it is now, I mean, Parliament has already passed it. The taxpayer is already going to pay the $12 million. So as what we can do as a people is to accept it, try and work on it. I'm just disappointed that they are not using the Ghana Post GPS as the backbone for, you know, the locations. But primarily,
you mentioned, you know, this has to do with health.
Yeah.
And you need it to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
You know, GPS relies on a lot of factors to get very accurate. I trust GPS a lot. But just very recently, I was
taking it
very off.
Oh, I've had some
Often,
interesting
very
experiences
So,
with GPS.
letting, you know, relying on your own data where you actually map the area yourself and you know for sure that when I say it's point A, it actually is point A.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. If it was, say, pizza delivery, then I wouldn't mind using Ghana. But if it tells me it's here at the traffic light, I can walk there. Michael, you've been quiet, awfully quiet.
Yes, I have been quiet.
I know, you know, steering a Titanic of a car is quite stressful. But
Yeah, no, that's why I'm so fit. Anyway, well, listen to what both the callers said. I feel there's a fear and a worry amongst our listeners. I mean, it is only two people, but there's a fear and a worry that this thing hasn't been fully thought through. But the gentleman who called in and explained that from Zipline sounded like, I mean, if you listen to him, he sounded like, yeah, definitely and I understand, feel for the poor guy because he's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
People are going to be asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of criticism, especially starting with the price and literally going up from there. So for him to be able to call and speak to us candidly about this and still invite us to come see the technology face to face, that's, if anything, I know I missed a lot of, but if anything, I can stand by that confidence, saying that if he's willing to let us into his space, not people who don't know what they are talking about, don't know what they are doing. We are people who are going to look there and try and find the faults in there. And he's not willing to say, when we start, come and take a look for yourself. That's a bit of confidence I can stand behind.
Yeah.
I may not know all the answer, I may not know everything that's going on in there, but if someone's willing to expose himself that much to scrutiny, then you understand maybe there's some strong potential there.
Right.
And potential is greatly what we need. If we have the potential and it proves it works, we can scale up from there. That means that the doors are open. Anybody can do anything. I'm looking forward to see someone literally sticking wings onto a piece of yam and flying it from the farms to my house. That would work fine for me.
You know, and on that note, it just brings to bear, like, when the caller spoke about why Ghanaians haven't done this, like, he's very passionate about the fact that Ghanaian technocrats haven't done stuff like this. I think that also informs why the cost is like, because when you have quote-unquote monopoly, you decide the cost.
Exactly.
And right now, I'm sure with this, if it takes off and it works well, there'll be competition. People would also want to get in there and have a piece of that pie.
Yeah.
And when there's competition, prices come down.
No, but Kobe, there's already competition. I mean, Snoocode, I know they've been piloting this, I mean, since last year. I mean, they've been piloting delivering to a particular longitude and latitude. So they have already done that kind of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been good for the government to go like, you know, you're a Ghanaian. We want to push Ghanaian. Maybe because of the mistake they did with Ghana Post GP, they don't want another Ghanaian product on their hands. I mean, Ghanaian blood on their hands. But the point,
or maybe because Zipline has run this successfully in Rwanda and they have evidence of it working.
You see, but there's a two.
And bear in mind, this is a country that was war torn a few years ago.
Yes, and you see, if I mean, I would have loved for the government to go to Snoocode and said, you know what, you're doing this. We've seen that you're doing it. Can you pilot this over this period and see whether it works, and then we can move it on? It costs 12 million. I mean, Snoocode would have done it for way cheaper. Even when the Ghana Post GPS issue came up, it could have been way cheaper. I mean, it's always been way cheaper, you know. So, I mean, it's always the point that we like to go, and in this whole, you know, community of, you know, technology, we are always the consumers. Why can't we build something out of our own and make it work? We are always consuming things from the West. We're always consuming things from the US. We need to start having the conversation of local content.
Great.
I understand what you're saying, and you're right, but we don't understand a lot of what happened with the whole procurement process. There are going to be some gaps there, and I can say for sure that the government is currently very interested in a lot of locally produced content from Ghanaian companies. Now, like I said, we don't know. Possibly they did go to the other company and ask them, can you supply this to us? And then the company simply said maybe they weren't capable. We don't know what may or may not have been said. And even it comes back to Zipline as well, because their costs also come into effect with all of these things. And I'm saying this because the company I work for has had a lot of very, very similar issues with procurement and also, what's the word I'm looking for, manufacturing in Ghana and being represented as a Ghanaian company, even though we are using what is essentially foreign technology, but we made it our own. And no one can go anywhere in the world, or even, let me not say the world, but no one can go anywhere in Africa without coming to us first to get the top line of that technology. And it still hasn't worked out, been easy for us. So I understand what you're saying, that, yeah, why didn't they just go to the Ghanaian? Judging from our experience, these questions can get very difficult to answer.
Because we don't have all the information.
We don't have all the facts, and we have no idea what's going on in the background.
And then eventually it becomes a whole political conversation.
Exactly. It's very possible that their suppliers may have thrown a figure on them, and they simply didn't have any choice than to say, okay, we don't have any choice than to accept it. And then coming back to the whole point of competition, once this thing starts, these things, I mean, let's say someone decides that, I'll make a styrofoam manufacturing plant. If you hear that and decide to do it, I gave you the idea, come hook me up. Prices go down.
Yeah, but you see, there again, I want us to focus on the opportunities. Let's assume government decides that they don't want to deal with Ghanaian company because they've had bad experience. What can Ghanaian companies, IT companies do to change that mentality? That's what we need to look at.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier on that Cuba had a medical issue and they realized that they need more doctors. They ended up training more doctors than they needed. And what did they do? They started exporting. So why don't we say that, okay, we have seen that there's opportunity in drones. Togo will need drones. Nigeria will need drones. Burkina Faso, they will need drones. Why don't we export the technology?
But if you're not using your own, how can you sell the technology?
So if we build, we don't have that industry. So for me...
But it doesn't have to be a public sector thing.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't have. Snoocode isn't a public sector business. It's not a public business. It's a private business. You get my point. Because there are a lot of, if you go into the hubs, Impact Hub, I mean, there are young people doing massive stuff.
Yeah.
What does this tell them? Oh, our government is not even looking our way. They are always going outside to buy stuff.
But what's the point? So then you don't rely on your government.
But you see, anyway, let's focus on the technology.
Yeah.
Even comparing, and before I came here, I did a lot of comparison between Snoocode and Zipline. I mean, Zipline is using a projectile. So before the thing launches into sky, it has to. So it's more like a mini airport for a drone. So there's an airport, and then when the thing drops, it comes back. It is again. I mean, there's a line that
it catches it.
That draws it back into. It's no good. It just, I mean, it's almost
a copter.
Yeah, it's a copter, and then it goes all the way and then drops.
But then there are those risks too with the copters.
So let them run at a pilot. It makes more sense.
So why?
And I'm talking for the technology enthusiasts who are in Ghana.
So why
who are doing
Snow
stuff in Ghana?
So why won't Snow Code say that? Okay, I'm going to do delivery with Papaye. I like Papaye, but then it takes so much time. When I go there, I spend like 45 minutes. You know, is it think outside
Let
the
me
box?
read the messages and I take Winston's comments. Hey, Kobe, congrats to Zipline. Good conversation, guys.
Yeah.
I pray things go well with this drone thing because we always copy, which is a good thing, but we don't copy well. So within a short time, everything becomes yama. I pray things go well this time around. Ghana for you. Crying as I listen. Eliza Kolete from Valley View University. Thanks. Sammy here. Ghanaians are just funny. This is a company that is already doing this in Rwanda. Didn't the guys listen to the submission by the Zipline rep? I believe Ghanaians are complaining out of bitterness and ignorance. We should lighten up. Sheesh. Good evening. I like the discussion. I think the drone tech is a good one. We must appreciate the initiative and look at how we can make it efficient and replicate it in other sectors. Golden from Microphone. Now, before I take your comments, Winston, you see, if I like Snooker is doing this, and when you look at Zipline is not native Rwandan. You know, they came from somewhere and they came to deploy this in Rwanda. If I was Zipline, I'd look for a place where this is in demand, go do my pilot there and let my people see that I'm actually doing something elsewhere. You know, the prophet is not what?
Respected in his
Exactly. So Winston, shoot.
Well, it's been interesting. I mean, this ended up being very political, but the premise is
unfortunately.
I mean, I like the enthusiasm from gentleman right here, but I'm an optimist, but when it comes to technology, I always think that we should take, because technology is too powerful for us to be playing politics with it. It's too powerful for us to be playing sentimental and everything about it. The Zipline dude, he said all the important things that I needed to hear, which was the fact that it had a range, and if it exceeds the range, they cannot do it. He has said it. He said all the constraints. Although he polished it and made it sound really good, that's why everybody was really happy. But I feel like we need to assess the situation. Definitely, the GCAA has to make amends to their rules. And if they are going to make amends to their rules, that everything is going to change. Because I could be flying a drone, it has happened several times, and a security guard comes there, why are you flying a drone? It's happened several times. Recently, I was flying a drone in a residential area where we got permission and everything. And then the guy was like, why are you flying a drone? And then I was like, so can they carry paracetamol? I was like, but I mean, I like the enthusiasm. I like the social commentary about this drone thing. It's very, very important. But we should understand that technology is too powerful for us to be playing this game with it. So if there's someone in Ghana who can do it, let them get the resources, because it's very difficult. I have said this before. To be able to get foreign investment in Ghana, the person has to bring $250,000. That's a lot of money to put in just a simple company. So if the government can finance these young people, we can do this. But if it's Zipline that we're going to use, cool. They've done it. They've run all the simulations. They've done everything. It works. So let's just enjoy this. It's a good ride.
It's been a very good conversation, and unfortunately we ran out of time. To those who called, thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Leo. For all those WhatsApp to us, thank you very much. Thank you for coming, Clenam. Thank you for coming, Winston. Thank you for coming, Ofulikwe. And Michael, thank you for coming. My name is Kobe Spiky Nkrumah. Shout out to my producer, Dela Glanu, Abeku Sankofi, and the fair boy who's left, and Selwyn Ofori. This has been Geek Squad. We will catch you next week is Christmas. Bye-bye.